Why do people think that hired mercenaries are so holy and sacred that we're not allowed to point out bad things about them? Stores say, oh, we'll give you a special discount if you're a hired murderer of the state. We've been indoctrinated to worship a gang of people whose job it is to go to the other side of the world, blow shit up and kill people, and heaven forbid you ever criticize the people who do that. For example, somebody says, hey, yeah, I work hard to protect you. Okay, what did you do? Well, there was a bad guy the next neighborhood over. Oh, and you went and stopped him? Yeah, well, how'd you do that? Well, we strafed the neighborhood with bullets for about a month. We dropped several tons of bombs on it. We killed 200 or 300 civilians, but we got the bad guy. Now, who would say, wow, thank you for your service. Thanks for protecting me. Nobody. We'd say, you're a fucking lunatic. Stop doing that. And when people do that to brown people on the other side of the world, it's just as fucking evil. So fuck the troops. My son is a Marine. How could you maybe you should have fucking taught your son morality instead of blindly obeying the evilest people in the world when they send you to be mercenaries on the other side of the world. But they're fighting for our freedom. How much of this statist bullshit are people going to repeat before they think about it? Yeah, because the guy in a cave in Afghanistan, he was totally going to come over here and conquer and enslave all of us, if not for the brave U.S. troops. And it's utterly insane to say they fight for our freedom when they work for the one organization that is actually a threat to the freedom of the American people, which is the United States fucking government. And in upholding their oath to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, they would all be invading D.C. Democracy is a nice term for the majority violently oppressing a minority. And we're taught that that equals freedom. The best example I can think of pure democracy, direct democracy, is called gang rape. And it's not okay. It's not okay for the majority to force its will on the minority. Democracy is what keeps us at war with each other. It keeps us clamoring to government. Please force my neighbors to fund what I believe in. Force them to behave the way I want them to behave. Meanwhile, the neighbor is saying, no, 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 force him to be what I want him to be. Democracy is not freedom, it's the exact opposite. It makes perpetual warfare, and it always will. Fuck your flag. What, he's insulting Old Glory, Stars and Stripes? Yeah, I am. Do you have any frickin' idea what it is you're worshiping? Well, to me, it represents freedom. Well, to me, it represents tuna noodle casserole. But what does it actually represent? If it represented freedom, would it be flying in front of every office of the biggest extortion racket in the world, the IRS? No. Is anybody who says it means freedom complaining about that? The fact that it flies in front of every DEA office, ATF office, the TSA, it's on all their uniforms, the US military, it's on their uniforms. Does anybody point out, why is it that the oppressors of the US and the world wear the symbol of freedom on their uniforms? Because it's not the symbol of freedom. What is it? I'll give you a hint. It's a hint you've heard about 7 bazillion times. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. A republic is a ruling class. When you pledge allegiance, you are swearing loyalty to your political masters. It doesn't have a goddamn thing to do with freedom. That's what makes the U.S. unique. We have a constitution. We get to vote, yeah, but it's a democratic republic. And we have a constitution with a Bill of Rights, and that makes us special. That makes us unique. That makes us great and free. China, also known as the People's Republic of China. Yes, they have a constitution. Guess what? Their constitution says they're all allowed to vote. Guess what else? Their constitution has a Bill of Rights. Communist China is a democratically elected constitutional republic. Number 2, Soviet Union, also known as the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Yep, has a constitution. Yep, it lets them vote. Yep, has a Bill of Rights. The Weimar Republic. Now, most of America is ignorant enough to say, the what? Nazi Germany. It's the thing that turned into Nazi Germany, which was completely constitutional. The Weimar Republic was a democratically elected constitutional republic with a Bill of Rights, and they brilliantly put in a line that said, if things get really bad and there's an emergency, the head doofus gets to suspend civil rights. And guess what? He did. And we got Nazi Germany, thanks to democratically elected constitutional republics. And what is the cliche example today of the most oppressive, backwards regime on the planet? North Korea, also known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Look up the frickin' Constitution. Yes, they have one. Yes, they're allowed to vote. Yes, they have a Bill of Rights. No, it didn't do them any fucking good. Dare he blaspheme our Constitution? People talk as if it's actually sacred, and it demonstrates the fact that statism really is a religion, and it really has dogma that people aren't allowed to think about, they're not allowed to question. And when I was growing up, I was taught the mushy-headed thing that the Declaration and the Constitution were sort of the same thing written by the same people, and more or less, freedom, yay, hurrah, hurrah. And it was only many years later that I realized, no, the Declaration was pretty dang close to being an anarchist document, because the whole point was, hey, you guys who think you have the right to rule us, in that case the British Crown, screw you, you're not the boss of us. Whereas the Constitution was, we're now the boss of you. And I didn't know for the longest time that the main people behind the American Revolution hated the idea of the new Constitution. Thomas Paine, the author of Common Sense, and Patrick Henry, good old give me liberty or give me death, railed against the Constitution and said this was going to be worse than a king very quickly. And guess what? It very quickly became worse than a king. That lovely Constitution created the biggest authoritarian empire in the history of the world, with the biggest war machine in the history of the world, and the biggest extortion racket in the history of the world. And constitutionalists are saying, but if we try it again, it might work. No, it frickin' won't. Well, constitutional republic didn't work in the US, or the Soviet Union, or China, or North Korea, or any of the other places, but they just didn't do it right. If your theory fails every time it's applied to the real world, maybe your theory sucks. Minarchism sucks. It doesn't fucking work. And fuck your loyalty to your country. The idea of a country is what it actually means. Again, it's the territorial jurisdiction of a ruling class. And loyalty to that is trained into the subjects of every empire, every ruling class. They train their subjects to think, we're great, we're awesome, we're special. It really is, patriotism is Stockholm Syndrome. It is feeling an attachment to your political enslavers. And when I ask people, okay, you say you love your country, what the hell do you mean? I wouldn't draw a line around them and say, these are the good people, but when you go over the line, that's the bad people. That's utterly stupid. What are you loyal to when you talk about loving your country? What is it that you actually love? And they don't know. They've never thought about it. I never thought about it. And it never occurred to me that the entire purpose of getting somebody to feel loyalty to their political jurisdiction they live in, it's like loyalty to your slave plantation. I'm proud to be a slave on this plantation instead of that worse plantation over there. It's a divisive thing. It's about dividing people and having people be at odds with each other. Every tyrannical regime in history was funded and manned and carried out by law-abiding taxpayers. It is nothing to be proud of. And people don't even think about the terms they use. Law-abiding. That doesn't mean good. It means you're doing whatever the hell the politicians tell you to. Taxpayer. That doesn't mean you give your money to good things. It means you give your money to politicians. It is the essence of Stockholm Syndrome to be proud to say, I do what the politicians tell me and I give them my money. And that's what law-abiding taxpayer means. Every regime, every army, government doesn't create any wealth, it steals it. It steals it from law-abiding taxpayers. Now, I can sympathize with people who get robbed and out of self-preservation go along and they give, they hand over money, like, the victim of a carjacker. If a carjacker steals your car and you give them the keys to avoid getting your head blown off, it doesn't mean you advocate carjacking. And for the people who, pay up to avoid being caged or robbed or whatever else, I can at least understand that. When you express pride in it, that's utterly insane. Well, I'm proud to pay my taxes. No, you're not. That's the lie you tell yourself to deny the fact that you're a victim. You're enabling your abuser. And that's why I use the term battered citizen syndrome, because that's really what it is. It's an exact parallel. is, well, yeah, they steal our money and they boss us around and they do all this evil crap. Well, how about we don't have them? No, we can't. I don't know. I can't even picture life without them. And they really love us and they really care and they're trying to take care of us and they'll probably be better soon. And it's sad. It's funny, but it's sad because that's what the American people do. That's what the people of every country do, is they make excuses for their oppressors.
And I'm in love with being queen. Oh.